A journey through time, embracing our shared heritage. The sea whispered secrets to the shore as Grace climbed the familiar path to her little beach cottage. The air carried the scent of salt and nostalgia, a mix that tasted like happiness and heartache all at once. She had spent decades here, her heart woven into every corner of the quiet town. But since Harold's passing, every wave felt heavier. Each crashing sound echoed the emptiness inside her. The vibrant laughter of their past faded to hollow silence. Time was a stubborn thing, refusing to let her forget. But today felt different. Just last week, Grace had stumbled upon an old photograph buried deep in a dusty box while sorting through Harold's belongings. In it, her younger self beamed with a joy that made her heart ache, standing beside a young man with an equally bright smile. There was something about his eyes that seemed to hold stories of betrayal. She could feel the fingers of doubt creep back into her mind. Could there be truths hidden beneath her seemingly perfect life? As Grace wandered along the beach, she noticed a splash of color in the distance. An easel stood defiantly against the soft gray of the morning sky. Manned by a young artist with paint-splattered clothes, curiosity nudged her forward. The artist, Lily, was lost in her work, her brush swirling vivid hues across the canvas, transforming blankness into something alive. Something about the way she held the brush reminded Grace of how she used to lose herself in her garden, planting each flower with hope and love before life took those joys away. "Hello," Grace called, her voice trembling slightly, unsure if she wanted to interrupt the beauty unfolding before her. Lily looked up, her eyes sparkling with youthful enthusiasm. "Hi there! Want to come see?" Grace hesitated but felt a spark ignite inside her. What was she waiting for? This could be her moment to connect, to feel alive again. As she approached, Lily welcomed her with a bright smile. "I'm painting the sunrise. Isn't it breathtaking?" Grace nodded, the colors swirling through her senses, reminding her of the sunsets she and Harold had cherished. In this fleeting moment, grief mingled with inspiration, softening the edges of her sorrow. "Do you paint?" Lily asked, her voice full of genuine curiosity. Grace shook her head. "Not anymore. Life has its way of scattering dreams." Lily's expression turned serious, as if she could sense the weight of Grace's past. "Maybe we should create together," Lily suggested, a hint of mischief in her eyes. "You have stories, and stories can be art." The idea was absurd, yet comforting. What stories? Grace's heart pounded at the thought of exposing the betrayals intertwined with her love story. Memories she had packed away like old trunks, gathering she uncovered about Harold's past. Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And since you're here, smash that like button because it really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Just then, a familiar figure from Grace's past flickered in her mind like a ghost. The stranger in that faded photograph. What had she uncovered about Harold's past? The moment was electric, the air thick with unspoken tension. Lily, sensing Grace's shift, leaned closer, her brush pausing mid-stroke. "What are you thinking about?" she asked softly, her voice a melody cutting through Grace's haze. Just memories, Grace murmured, the weight of her heart pushing down like a stone. Memories that should have felt safe, yet began to unravel into something unsettling. But before she could unravel her whirlwind thoughts, there was a loud commotion further down the beach. A crowd had gathered, voices rising in frantic whispers. Curiosity overwhelmed Grace, and she turned toward the noise, her heart racing. "Let's check it out," Lily exclaimed, her vibrant enthusiasm unwavering. Together they hurried toward the crowd, the chilly sea breeze whipping around them. As they neared, Grace's stomach tightened. There, lying under a broad beach umbrella, was a woman, disheveled, pale, with a wild look in her eyes, her hair tangled with seaweed. She looked like a character straight out of a nightmare. "He's gone! I swear I saw him!" the woman shouted, her voice hoarse, catching everyone off guard. Gasps rippled through the crowd. "Who?" someone asked, stepping forward. The woman's wide eyes were frantic, searching. "Hey, Harold," she stammered, clutching the ground like it might swallow her whole. The name echoed in Grace's mind like a deafening drum. Harold? How could this be? There was no way he could be involved in whatever was happening. He was gone. She felt as if the ground beneath her was shifting. But the woman continued, her voice rising. "He's been alive! He disappeared years ago. I saw him. He was here, right on this beach." Whispers buzzed around Grace. Confusion danced with disbelief. Her heart raced, the world spinning. A part of her wanted to run, to escape this chaos, but another part needed to know. "Do you know him?" Lily asked, glancing at Grace, whose breath felt caught in her throat. Before Grace could respond, the woman's eyes locked onto hers. You know him, don't you?" There was an urgency there, a wild connection that sent a shiver down Grace's spine. Grace started. But nothing emerged. Words felt trapped. Her mind replayed the photograph, the ghostly figure, the secrets hidden in the shadows of her memories. "Please, he needs help," the woman cried, the desperation in her voice raw and haunting. Suddenly, the crowd parted. A figure emerged from the water's edge, silhouetted against the sun. Tall, strong, with a familiar gait. Grace's heart thundered in her chest. It couldn't be. As he stepped closer, trepidation clawed at her, and confusion clouded her vision. Could it really be Harold? The man she mourned, the love she believed was lost forever? "What do you want?" Grace shouted, her voice shaky yet powerful. Then she noticed the small silver locket around his neck, the same one Harold never took off. Everyone stopped. Silence fell like a heavy blanket. Grace's breath stalled, a lump growing in her throat. Who was this man? What had he been hiding? A million questions surged like angry waves in her mind, drowning everything else. Suddenly, Grace took a step back, uncertainty crashing over her like a cold wave. "Who are you?" Just then, a shout erupted from the crowd. "Get back! He's dangerous!" An icy chill swept through her, paralyzing her. Was this really Harold? And if so, what had he become? And with that, everything shattered. She felt lost in a torrent of fear and confusion. What was the truth? And now, how could she ever trust her memories again? The crowd inhaled sharply, tension prickling in the air. All eyes were glued to the figure emerging from the waves. Grace's breath felt like shards of ice lodged in her throat. Who was he? Was it really Harold? Her heart raced, every beat reverberating with hope and dread. "Grace?" The word slipped from the man's lips, familiar yet haunting. It sent electricity through her, lighting up every memory she thought she had buried. Yet, how could a ghost stand before her, here, alive? "What do you want?" she shouted, fierce yet trembling. Desperate for answers. The confusion rippled through the crowd. Whispers rippled like waves. "Is it really him? He should be dead. Please, Grace." He stepped closer, the sun glinting off the silver locket around his neck. It was identical. I need... But before he could finish, the woman on the ground screamed, "Liar! You're not him! You're not Harold!" Silence crashed down like a hammer. All eyes shifted to her. Panic electrified the air, and Grace's stomach twisted. Why was she accusing him? "Why do you say that?" Lily's voice cut through. "What do you know?" The woman clawed at the sand, wild-eyed. "Because I've seen what he's become. He's not who you think he is. He's dangerous." "Dangerous? What do you mean?" Grace's voice faltered, caught between disbelief and fear. In a sudden movement, the woman lunged to her feet, her face white as a ghost. "He was with us, with the others, in the dark." She pointed, trembling, towards the rocky cliffs where shadows seemed to creep and lurk. "They came for him, and he left with them. He's not just Harold. He's something else now." The crowd gasped. Gasps turned to murmurs, whispers of betrayal and accusation filtering through. Grace's heart dropped. She felt invisible strings pulling at her sanity. Memories, laughter, quiet moments with Harold seemed to warp and twist. "Grace," the man called again, his voice softer now, almost pleading. "You have to believe me. I didn't ask for any of this. I was taken." "Taken?" Grace croaked, choking on confusion. "What do you mean, taken?" "Please," his voice heightened, echoing desperation. "I've been in hiding. They'll come for me again. You don't know what they do. I had to protect you. All these years." "Protect me from what?" Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the cliffs. Everyone turned to see a group of dark figures emerging, their silhouettes ominous against the rising sun. Murmurs of alarm swept through the crowd. "Run!" someone shouted, panic igniting like fire. But Grace remained frozen, heart pounding, mind swirling. Everything in her screamed to flee. But she couldn't tear her eyes away from Harold, or whoever this man claimed to be. "Harold?" She breathed, her voice quaking. "Is it really you?" He stepped forward again, but the dark figures were closing in. The crowd began to scatter, chaos erupting, yet she remained still. "Grace, you can't stay here. They're coming for you too." His gaze was urgent, intense, but something flickered behind his eyes. A shadow, maybe. Doubt? The woman moved close, grabbing Grace's arm. "We must go. He lied to you. It's not him." But before Grace could process, the figures dashed forward, tearing through the chaos like wolves. The air ignited with screams and stumbling bodies, all converging around her. And then came the unimaginable snap. The ground lurched beneath her, cracks spider-webbing through the sand. A terrible roar erupted from the cliffs. Grace's heart dropped. Was this part of it? A trick? Grace's pulse thundered in her ears as she fought to breathe. She couldn't trust her memories, and now she wasn't sure what was true anymore. Hands grabbed her, pulling her in two directions. "Come with me," shouted the woman, her eyes wild. "No, stay with me," Harold insisted, desperation lacing his voice. "Who are you really?" Grace screamed over the growing chaos. Silence intermingled with screams. Just then, the earth broke and light swallowed her world. The darkness was intense, annihilating all sense of reality. All she could hear was the roar, the chaos, all she could feel was a force drawing her away. In that moment, her heart shattered, like glass, sharp and unforgiving. What had she stepped into? And as she faded into the unknown, she thought of all she had lost, and all she might lose next. The ground rippled beneath Grace like a restless ocean. She felt the pull, a deep vortex swirling, dragging her into chaos. And just before everything went black, she thought she heard Lily's voice, a tender thread tying her to reality, but it faded, swallowed by the echoing roar around her. Then, nothing. The darkness enveloped her like thick fog. It pressed, not just on her body, but her mind. Moments stretched, then snapped back, and suddenly she was gasping for breath on a pristine shoreline. Crystalline water lapping softly at her feet. The sun was warm, and the air rich with the scent of salt and freedom. But everything felt wrong. Grace, a familiar voice sliced through the moment. Instinctively, she turned, heart racing. There he was, Harold, standing a little distance away, but he looked different, not just the way he'd emerged from the water, but something deeper, something unsettling in his eyes. "What do you?" she began, her voice crackling like dry leaves. But before she could even finish, a figure stepped up beside him. A woman, slim, elegant, with golden hair cascading over her shoulders. Grace squinted against the sudden brightness. Her heart sank as she recognized her, a ghost from the past. "Is this real?" Grace whispered, shock freezing her words mid-sentence. Her mind raced, memories crashing like waves. It was Sarah. The friend she'd lost touch with years ago, the one who had disappeared right around the time Harold had left. "Grace, we need to talk," Sarah said, a tight urgency to her tone. Those innocent eyes now seemed shadowed with knowing. "Why?" Grace stammered, confusion rising like bile. "What do you have to do with all this?" Sarah shook her head, stepping closer, her worry palpable. "It's not what you think, Grace. None of this is what you think." "What do you mean?" The world around her tilted. Memories swirled. Charming nights, laughter, shared dreams. "Harold is back? I thought he was gone." Harold, watching them closely, his expression unreadable, muttered, "Not everything is how it appears." "What?" Grace's body trembled. "You were gone. So why come back now?" A sudden shout pierced the air. "Run!" The chaos that had been lurking erupted again. Figures appeared, shadowy forms against the blinding sun, creeping out from the corners of Grace's vision. "They're here," Sarah shouted, urgency pouring from her words. "They won't stop until they have." "What they want? Harold, you must tell her." "Tell me what?" Grace pressed, her stomach tightening. Her heart beat erratically, confusion and fear clawing at her thoughts. "What's happening?" Then a loud crash echoed from the cliffs, and a massive wave surged toward them, each crashing sound growing closer. The scene felt surreal, as if pulled from a dream she couldn't wake from. "Believe us!" Harold screamed, stepping forward. "They're cunning! We need to—" But before he could finish, Sarah jerked him back. The panic in her eyes sent a chill down Grace's spine. "You don't understand, Grace. He is not just Harold. He's been changed." "What? Changed?" Grace felt her breath catch. The words clung to the air like dark clouds ready to pour. "What does that mean?" The crowd was retreating, screams erupting like grains of sand scattering in the wind. A voice tore through the chaos, a confident bark. "Get back! He's dangerous!" Every gaze fell on Harold, eyes filled with doubt, fear. Grace stumbled back, heart racing. "Is it true? What have you become?" "I did what I had to do." Harold's voice broke, revealing an anguish she hadn't seen before. It wasn't my choice. Then whose choice was it? Grace yelled, panic spiraling into terror. She felt the world unraveling, as if the ground would give way beneath her next. Before Harold could answer, a figure appeared behind him, cloaked in darkness. And when the light hit, it uncovered a face. Long, sharp features, eyes bright and mocking. "Did someone call for a reckoning?" They spoke, their tone dripping with malice. Grace's heart dropped. Everything she thought she understood shifted under her like quicksand. "What do you want?" "Simple," the figure replied, a smile stretching across their face. "The truth behind the facade." At that moment, the pieces clicked violently together. Everything was a lie, and yet now she couldn't tell who was lying. Harold, Sarah, or this new stranger. As the crashing waves closed in around them, she knew she was standing on the precipice of a revelation that would tear everything apart. The world spun again, but this time she felt more than just fear. She felt the weight of truth looming, about to unleash a storm that would drown them all. Would she be ready for what lay beneath the surface? The world spun again, but this time a wild spark ignited in Grace's chest. Sarah's warning echoed in her mind, pounding like a heartbeat. He's not just Harold, he's been changed. What could that possibly mean? Chaos erupted. Shadows leaped closer. The figure, a chilling presence, grinned, eyes glinting like jagged glass. "Truth comes at a cost, dear Grace. Are you ready to pay?" A voice roared in her head, like a storm approaching, so loud it drowned everything else out. The crowd, a sea of confusion, pushed and pulled, desperation cloaking them. "Run! He's dangerous!" Their fear smothered her, thick like fog. But her heart thudded louder. Could she trust Harold? The man she loved? The man she lost? "Stop! Just tell me the truth!" she yelled, voice trembling. "Grace!" Harold shouted, stepping forward. Panic flickered in his eyes, matching the chaos around them. "I didn't choose this life. They took me, I swear." His tone was raw, slicing through the confusion, but instead of comfort, it sent a chill racing down her spine. Around them, everything surged. The dark figure laughed, sharp and cruel. "Such sweet delusions. Isn't it lovely? You're all pawns in a game you can't even see." "Shut up!" Sarah screamed, pushing herself between them and Grace. "You're a monster!" In that moment, the ground quaked again, a powerful lurch that split the sand beneath them. Branches snapped, the ground cracked, and towering waves crashed like thunder, drowning out her thoughts. Out of nowhere, a blinding light burst forth from the cliff. It enveloped everything in a golden haze. The crowd froze, mouths agape. Grace squinted, shielding her eyes. Then clarity hit like a slap. "Stand where you are." A new voice sliced through the air, a deep, commanding presence. A figure emerged from the light, tall and stern, dressed in a cloak that shimmered like molten metal. "I am here to reveal the past." All eyes turned to the newcomer. The energy crackled, weaving through the air like a spell. "What's happening?" Grace breathed, heart racing. "Silence!" The figure's voice echoed, booming over the chaos. "The truth must be uncovered." And suddenly, the memories flooded, the corners of Grace's mind, hidden. Fragments dislodging themselves, rising like smoke. Familiar faces, long lost, drifted into her consciousness. "Harold," the figure spoke again, eyes locked onto him. "You are not who you think you are." A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. Grace saw the color drain from Harold's face, replaced by sheer disbelief. "What do you mean?" "Your memories, Your identity are shackled by lies, but now the truth can surface. With a swift motion, the figure raised a hand, weaving intricate patterns in the air. Light spiraled around Harold, illuminating his features. Grace's heart thundered, an urgent drumbeat merging with the chaos. Suddenly, the brilliant glow pierced through Harold's eyes, a flash of clarity so intense it nearly blinded her. He staggered back, pain etched across his features. "No! This can't be real!" Tremors shook the ground, strange and fierce, as if the very earth reacted to his protest. The shadows flickered hungrily, coiling around him like serpents waiting to strike. "Enough!" the figure shouted, the air thickening with tension. "You sought to gain power through deception, a power that comes at a cost." "What do you mean?" Grace's voice shook. "What's he done?" Then, with a flick of the figure's hand, the light expanded, engulfing Harold. His form twisted, shimmered, and in a split second, everything changed. Harold's face morphed into a mask. No longer the man she knew. For a moment, she only saw darkness, a reflection of that shadowed figure, still grinning, behind the scenes. "No, no!" Grace cried, her hands trembling, fear clawing at her heart. Who are you?" In the mass of confusion, an icy truth seeped into her core. Harold had been fighting against something deep within, and whatever lurked inside him was now breaking free. Time slowed. The crowd gasped. A murmur swept through as whispers tangled in disbelief, confusion, judgment. "He's not Harold. He can't be." "What's happening?" Panic radiated from their voices. Fear twisted into a palpable force, knocking against Grace like waves. And then the darkness coiled around him, and she faced a horror that sent shockwaves through her heart. "What have you become?" But there stood the figure, calm yet fierce. "Step closer, Grace. Only you can end this." A stillness enveloped her. Should she dare? Underneath the shifting shadows, a crucial truth awaited, and as she took one hesitant step towards the chaos unraveling before her, she felt the pull of 1,000 secrets clashing, begging to be unveiled. What lay at the heart of Harold's transformation, and could she confront it? She glanced at the figure, uncertainty raging within. What truth could set them free? Or would it pull them into the depths of darkness forever? Grace stood frozen, heart pounding. Shadows twisted in her mind. Answers danced just out of reach. All eyes were locked on Harold, the man she loved and thought she had lost. But now he faced something darker, something she could feel but couldn't see. The tension wrapped around her like a noose. "Stand where you are!" the ethereal figure commanded, cracking the air with authority. She felt the weight of the moment pressing down on her, pushing her toward the unexpected truth lurking just behind the veil. "Harold, please!" Grace's voice was desperate. "You've got to tell me what is happening. What did they do to you?" He opened his mouth to speak, but before words could form, a deafening crash echoed from the cliffs. The dark figure that had emerged from the waves, still laughing, suddenly crumpled like paper. A sudden gasp erupted from the crowd. "What?" Grace's breath caught. Everyone watched as the form twisted, contorting as if struck by an unseen force. Then, with a sickening lurch, the air shimmered again, and where shadows had danced only moments before, a new figure appeared. A woman, her features strikingly familiar, almost impossibly so. "Mom?" Grace stuttered, shock etching every feature. Grace, her mother's voice was a haunting melody returning from the past. But why? Why now? "You have to listen, you're in danger." The crowd collectively gasped, their eyes darting between the familiar face and the chaotic scenes unfolding. What is going on? The murmur rose, confusion clouding reason. I know this isn't easy to understand. Her mother continued, urgency filling each word. But you're not just tied to Harold. You carry a legacy that reaches back generations. The truth is hidden in your blood. Legacy? Panic twisted in Grace's stomach. Her past collided with an unrecognizable present, and the puzzle pieces of her life felt like shattered glass scattered around her. Everything you've ever known is a lie. The crowd went silent, a hush sweeping through as tension thickened like smoke. The ones coming for Harold are also coming for you, Grace. They need you. Need me for what? The world around her spun dizzyingly. Her heart raced, the lump in her throat tightening painfully. Your power, her mother said, gaze sharp and piercing. You possess something he cannot. Only you can stop this. A shadow broke into her vision. The dark figure regained form, its grin perfect but sinister, unfurling like a snake uncoiling. You think she can save you? It sneered, voice dripping with mockery. You're only feeding into the inevitable, dear Grace. Harold shook his head, a mixture of fear and hope swirling in his eyes. No, don't listen. Harold, what do you know? Grace's voice erupted, raw and fierce. The weight of her mother's words hung heavy. Everything everyone had believed shattered like fragile glass. The dark figure took a step closer, malice crackling in the air. Tell her the truth, Harold. Who you really are. What you carried to destroy her. Her mother's expression turned serious, almost mournful. Harold isn't just a victim. He is part of this cycle. We were all chosen. What did that mean? Grace stepped back, heart thundering. Chosen for what? Time is running out, her mother warned. You must choose, Grace. Walk away from the ties that bind you, or accept your place in this tale. The shadows grew thicker around Harold, his face contorted with internal struggle. I wasn't meant for this. I fought against them. But the chaos was building. Crowds screaming, fleeing from the dark figure that surged forward with terrifying intent. You're all in my way, it declared, a storm gathering inside its voice. And then, just as the air crackled with electricity, a blinding flash split the sky above them, light cascading like a waterfall over the chaos itself. Grace felt time stretch, reality blur. What's happening? She yelled, but the ground beneath her shook dangerously. Make your choice, the figure shouted, reaching for her. Before she could react, the light burst, swallowing her whole. Her heart raced in rhythm with secrets unraveling. Could she trust her own blood? Should she follow this unseen history? As the light enveloped her, confusion turned to terror. Was anyone safe? Grace felt herself pulled apart, body and soul caught between worlds. The choice hovered before her, a balance of love and betrayal, truth and illusion. And then, silence, as everything faded into darkness once more. The light swallowed Grace whole. For a moment, everything was silent, dark. A heavy stillness wrapped around her like a blanket. Then, with a jolt, she found herself sprawled on damp sand, heart racing. Grace! Harold's voice cut through the haze, urgent and desperate. She blinked, trying to focus. The world snapped back into view, but it felt distorted. The ocean shimmered under a blistering sun. Waves, crashing and retreating in a restless dance. Harold? She struggled to her feet. He stood a few steps away, wild-eyed, but now the shadows that had encircled him were gone. Hope flickered inside her. You? Listen, we don't have much time. His voice was low, almost a whisper, burdened with gravity. She could see the sweat glistening on his brow, the clench of his jaw. From who? Fear gripped her heart, twisting like a knife. What's happening? His eyes darted to the shore, scanning for danger. The dark figure, it's linked to something deeper. To us, to our families. If they find you, what do you mean linked? Confusion swirled in her mind. Was this really happening? Harold, please! A loud boom, suddenly, echoed from behind them. The cliff erupted, dislodging rocks that tumbled into the sea. Grace winced, her heart racing, the beach darkening under a veil of chaos. Lies! The figure's voice cut through the roaring waves. You think you've chosen? You don't even understand the game you're trapped in. Stop! Grace shouted, stomach lurching. Don't do this! We can work together. Just tell me what's real. The figure laughed, a chilling sound that echoed off the cliffs. Then it stepped forward, and the sun caught its face. A face that twisted her blood cold. Why would we want to work together? It grinned wider, revealing sharp teeth, each gleaming in the sunlight. In a flash, everything clicked in Grace's mind. No, you can't be. Surprise! It whispered, mocking her disbelief. They didn't tell you, did they? Tell me what? Grace felt sick, her legs trembling, as the truth bore down on her like a weight. It's so obvious. The figure flourished its arms. You have his eyes, Grace. Your power, your lineage. It plunged its hand into the air, swirling shadows rising with its words. You're part of this legacy, a bloodline of destruction. She's lying, Harold shot back, fury igniting in his eyes. Grace, you are not. Whatever they say. But the figure turned to Grace, eyes gleaming with a wicked delight. Oh, but it's true. No. Pain wrapped around her chest like iron. This isn't happening. I can't be tied to this darkness. Another loud crack echoed from the cliffs. The chaos around her swirled. Her heart raced. Harold, what do I do? Then, in a shocking twist, the dark figure lunged towards her, and Harold interjected. No, you don't want to wake her. If she remembers. Remembers what? Grace demanded, panic spiraling. The truth about you, the figure hissed, shadows swirling like mist. Remember how she never knew her limits? How she never remembered the darkest days before? This will break her. Everything slowed. A cold realization swept over Grace like a tidal wave. Wait, what darkest days? I thought I could protect you. Harold's voice broke, a heavy burden seeping into his words. But you need to see. In that moment, Grace felt the familiar pull of her childhood memories. Twisted, dark, unsettling. Flickers of laughter from a time long buried. A warm smile from the past. No, don't. But before she could grasp what was happening, the ground cracked beneath her feet, and with a deafening roar, the shadows of her past erupted, filling her with a dread she had never known. The darkness enveloped her, crashing like waves, revealing faces she once knew. Friends, family, a line of betrayal and pain she had long buried. The truth came rushing back, washing over her like a flood as the crowd gasped, all eyes wide with disbelief. Only you can stop this, the figure shrieked, twisted laughter ringing in Grace's ears. As she stood, trembling, the weight of revelation bore down on her chest. What do I have to do? The ground shook once more, and from the depths of chaos came a chilling clarity. There, behind the chaos, lay the truth that would forever change everything. Only embrace who you really are. And she stood on the precipice, heart racing, staring into the abyss, knowing full well she had only uncovered the tip of a monstrous truth. What awaited her beyond the shadows? Could she trust her own memories, or were they simply traps to ensnare her fate? The ground shook violently, vibrating beneath Grace like a heartbeat gone wild. Shadows from the cliffs loomed closer, forming dark shapes that threatened to consume everything. The sun blazed overhead, but an icy chill crept into her bones. The air thickened, suffocating her thoughts while chaos spun around them. Grace! Harold reached for her, desperation in his eyes. You have to hold on to who you are. Don't let them twist your memories anymore. The dark figure grinned menacingly, shadows swirling around it. So much passion. But can she hold on to lies she's been told? Lies that define who she is. Stop it! Grace screamed, panic seizing her chest. You don't control me! The figure laughed, the sound slicing through the turmoil. Oh, darling, that's where you're wrong. The truth is a revelation, and tonight it's coming for you. Crashing waves roared against the shore, drowning their voices, echoing the turmoil inside Grace. The heaviness threatened to shatter her remaining resolve. Just when she thought the darkness couldn't grow more menacing, it unfurled, revealing a shocking figure behind the chaos. Mom? Grace barely whispered. Time froze as she recognized the haunting face. The woman she thought she'd lost forever. Her mother stood before her, eyes filled with certainty. Grace, you need to understand. Everything, it leads back to the source. You have to confront it. What source? Fear clawed at Grace. What do you mean? Before her mother could respond, another voice broke the tension. Mom's right! A girl she recognized stepped forward from the crowd. It was Lily, paint-splattered clothes stained with anxiety. You can't fight against what's a part of you. You've got this power inside. You need to embrace it. What was happening? The warm bond she shared with Lily now felt frayed, as if she were seeing a stranger beneath familiar skin. The dark figure leaned in closer. You think they can save you, Grace? You're all just pieces on a board, moving in the dark. You want the truth? I'll reveal it all. As the words hung in the air, the cliffs behind them trembled with a deafening roar. A wave crashed violently, sweeping everything back into chaos. Harold! Grace's heart raced as she turned to him desperately. Tell me what to do. But before he could answer, the ground split under their feet. A fissure opened, revealing churning darkness. And out of that darkness emerged a chilling whisper, wrapping around Grace like a vice. Hello, Grace. Stunned, she stumbled back. Who are you? The shadows detached themselves from the dark figure, taking form. And what emerged next left her breathless. A mirror image of Grace stared back at her, identical in every way, eyes swirling with darkness. But how? Grace's voice faltered. Did you really think you could outrun your past? The duplicate taunted, stepping forward. I am everything you buried, every secret you tried to hide. Deep inside, I've always been here, waiting to take my place. Stop! You're not real! Grace cried, panic gripping her throat. But as her heart raced, she felt a strange connection, like threads of fate intertwining. Everything you feared, everything you've done, it's time to join forces. No! Grace lunged back, the world spinning. The tension escalated, with voices around her crying out in disbelief. This can't be true, someone shouted from the crowd. But everything felt so surreal. Harold's expression morphed with sudden fear. He turned to the figure and barked, "What have you done?" The dark figure smirked, reveling in the chaos. Did you think everything would remain the same, Harold? The power you sought comes with consequences. This was the hidden truth. And tonight, Grace will embrace her destiny. Destiny? Grace shook her head, breathless. I don't want any part in this. Too late for that, sweet Grace, her doppelgänger sneered, stepping closer. You can't escape what's been written in your blood. You are bound to me and all the choices I've made. Fear surged through her, electrifying every nerve. She felt the weight of betrayal and the dawning of a shocking revelation. Why? She shouted, voice quaking. Why show yourself now? Because, the figure said. We have to end this cycle together. You can join me, or we can face our fates apart. Grace fought for breath. You're not me! You can't be! Then prove it. The air crackled with tension, and something primal ignited inside her. In that instant, everything clicked. Every laugh, every tear, every hidden scar flashed before her eyes. Embrace your truth, transform the lies, and face the storm. The dark figure called, laughing as the fragile threads of her reality began to unravel. And in that moment, Grace realized this was just the beginning. One question invaded her mind. Could she ever become the light amidst the darkness? The air crackled with tension, a thick smog closing in around Grace. Her shadow twin loomed in front of her, eyes glinting with icy malice. She felt every nerve in her body ignite with fear and confusion. But before Grace could gather her thoughts, the doppelganger stepped forward, whispering, "The truth you bury always finds you." "Shut up!" Grace shouted, fighting against the rising tide of panic. She felt Harold's hand wrap around her arm, a lifeline in the swirling chaos. "Don't listen to her. She's trying to manipulate you." Suddenly, the ground lurched. Again, this time with violent force. Grace stumbled, nearly falling, but Harold steadied her. All around them the crowd gasped, eyes wide with disbelief. And then, in an instant, everything changed. A blinding light shot from the cliffs, illuminating the beach as if the sun had exploded. Grace shielded her eyes, disoriented by the brilliance. "Embrace your truth," echoed the doppelganger as the light enveloped her, "or face the darkness forever." Then came the thunderous crack, a blast of energy that sent her spiraling. The world dissolved into chaos. When the light dimmed, Grace found herself in a different landscape entirely. She stood in a strange room, walls covered in mirrors, reflections darting around her like fireflies. "What just happened?" she whispered. Confusion groaning inside her. "Welcome back," a voice drifted through the room, smooth and haunting. Grace turned sharply to see an unfamiliar face, a woman dressed in flowing white. Her hair cascaded like a waterfall, and her eyes sparkled with something otherworldly. "Who are you?" Grace's heart raced, a lump forming in her throat. "I am Eva," the woman replied, her voice soothing yet powerful. "I am a keeper of memories." "Memories?" Grace faltered, her pulse quickening. "What does that mean? Where is Harold?" "Focus," Eva urged, stepping closer. "You are at the crossroads of your true self and the shadows of deception." "Deception?" Grace felt a chill creep down her spine. "What are you talking about?" "Harold is not just a victim in this." Eva's gaze locked onto Grace, depth boiling beneath her words. "He holds secrets that could unravel everything you know, and the power you possess, it stems from choices made long before you were born." "Stop!" Grace covered her ears, heart racing. I don't want to hear this." But before she could grasp the enormity of Eva's words, another figure flickered into the room. A man, tall and imposing, with bright eyes that reflected a storm. It was the dark figure from before, transformed in a haunting glow. You have to be torn to find the truth, Grace, he said softly, voice dripping with poison. You think you're in control? You've barely scratched the surface of what you are, the floor beneath. Grace pulsed with energy, shadows creeping closer, entwining her ankles like creeping vines. No! Stay away! In that moment, a shocking clarity cut through the chaos. The vision of her mother, standing proud, rose in Grace's mind. What if, she thought, realization slamming into her like a wave. What if Eva is precisely, the figure interrupted, a sick smile spreading across his face. Did you really think she was on your side? With a heart-wrenching crash, the room shattered. Mirrors exploded in a blast of glass and light, revealing an endless maze, twisting paths branching off into darkness. But why would you do this? Grace shrieked, the weight of betrayal tumbling down on her. You're just an illusion. Is that what you think? ... Eva's voice chilled her. What if I told you that you aren't the only one who's been hiding? What if I told you your memories are stolen fragments of my own? Everything in Grace's mind twisted. The memories she had clung to so tightly unraveled. What do you mean? The shadows surged forward, wrapping around her, choking her breath. You're not just a part of this legacy, my dear. You are the key to its resurrection. Key? The world spun, and then Eva reached for Grace, revealing a truth so heavy it threatened to crush her entirely. Your bloodline holds darkness, an ancient curse, and it will return if you don't face it. Silence slammed into the chaos. Confusion pulled at her heart, as everything she now known felt like slipping sand. Could it be true? Could she really hold the darkness within her? Before she could react, the ground churned, and the familiar faces from the past echoed in the air. The whispers of long-buried relationships clawing their way back. Are you ready? Eva gazed at her, the intensity glinting ominously. This is only the beginning. At that moment, every fiber in Grace screamed out. Something deep inside throbbed with possibility. What lay ahead? Would she embrace the darkness or fight against it? And as shadows danced like demons around her, the only thing she could do was hold her breath and wait for a decision that could change everything. Grace's heart thundered in her chest as Eva's revelation settled like a dense fog. Shadows crept around her, tendrils of fear entwining with the memories long buried. I am not just a part of this. I am more than what you think. Join me, her doppelgänger whispered, voice dripping with temptation. Together, we can wield this power. You can become unstoppable. Never, Grace shot back, defiance sparking a fire in her veins. I won't be your pawn, or anyone's. The ground beneath them shook again, as if responding to her fierce declaration. Cracks splintered like lightning, revealing an abyss of darkness that yawned hungrily. Grace! Harold's voice broke through the chaos, voice raw with urgency. You need to trust yourself. Reject the darkness. Tears stung Grace's eyes, the weight of every choice crashing over her like saltwater waves. But what if I'm just as broken? What if the darkness has always been inside me? You are stronger than you know, Harold urged. Remember who you are. The love you shared, the laughter, the light. It's all still in you. In that moment, clarity washed over her. She felt the energy surge within, merging with every joy and sorrow, forging a resolve stronger than fear. I choose courage. I choose love. Her voice reverberated, ringing through the chaos around her. With a fierce roar, the dark figure lunged. But Grace stood tall, her heart a beacon in the night. Light erupted from within her, shimmering and bright, illuminating the shadows that clawed at the edges of her mind. No! The duplicate screamed, the light piercing her like arrows. Shadows fled, retreating back into the depths of the darkness as Grace's power surged. "I am my own," she cried, chasing the remnants of doubt away. The tangled memories, the hurt, and the shadows that tried to claim her crumbled beneath the strength of her resolve, disintegrating like sand in a storm. Harold's eyes widened, a smile breaking through the heaviness. "You did it! You chose the light!" Reality flickered for a moment, and Grace felt her mother's presence wrap around her, a comforting embrace from the past. "I knew you could," a whisper echoed within her mind, filling her with warmth and solidarity. Then a loud boom resounded from the cliffs, shaking the ground one last time. The dark figure stumbled back, its smile fading as the light consumed all. "You think this is over?" it shrieked, before disappearing into nothingness, leaving only the echoes of a fading menace. Silence fell like a soft blanket, wrapping around Grace and Harold as they stood resolute on the shore. The air felt lighter, the sun's warmth bathing them in golden light. "Is it really over?" Grace whispered, glancing at Harold, whose eyes sparkled with pride. "For now, yes." His voice was steady, yet filled with an understanding that their journey was far from complete. "But you've changed, and that change is powerful." As they stood together, the crowd slowly emerged from behind the confusion, faces filled with awe and relief. Lily rushed forward, tears glistening in her eyes. "You did it!" she exclaimed, throwing her arms around Grace. "I knew you could!" Finally, the heaviness of the past began to lift. Grace smiled through her tears, feeling the warmth of their collective support surround her. "Thank you, all of you." But deep down, she knew this wasn't just the end. She could still feel the remnants of shadows lingering in the corners. Remnants that reminded her that light and darkness would always coexist in this journey called life. "Every story has a scattered beginning. Forge your own," Eva's distant voice echoed, threading through her thoughts. "The remnants of our past can be rewritten." With renewed strength, Grace turned to Harold, their hands clasped tightly together. "Let's face what comes next, together." As they walked toward the horizon, she felt lightness in her steps, an invitation to embrace every moment, every challenge, and every laughter yet to come. Now is the time to act. You have to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss any future exclusive stories. Smash that like button right now to feed the algorithm and support us. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about this thrilling conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how this all ends. This is the moment to show your support.